my, oh my.
I can't seem to turn the page. This haze around my face makes me
Feel all alone.
I know you see me standing still. When our fingers touch, I
Feel
feel
my way back home. Pardon my delay. I'm navigating. My head is associated. I'm navigating.
how things change so rapidly. I find myself twisting and turn so cold.
Pardon my delay. Navigating. My head is associated.
Long it's been since I responded to your question. If you really wanna know what I'm thinking, kinda feels like everybody leaves. Feeling the reality that everybody leaves. My dad just lost his mom, I think that everybody leaves. And now I'm trying to hold on to you cause everybody leaves. Pardon my delay, I'm navigating my head disassociate. I'm navigating my head. Give me some advice. I am wasting all this time. Pardon my delay, I'm navigating.
I'm navigating these minds. Navigating these minds.
Good luck. Follow me. Johnny, 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 whoops, Johnny, whoops, Johnny, 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 Johnny. Johnny, 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 Johnny. Johnny, 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 whoops, Johnny, whoops, Johnny, 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 Johnny. Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. When I was 11 years old, I just wanted to be pretty. I stayed away from the creeps, but they got me through my screen, saying, could only do it if I'm face down in a bed. So I was counting the days till I was up for the taking. And when it finally hit, I had to let the right one in. And there was something about this Johnny that seemed different from the rest.
Johnny, 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 I just wanna be your girl. I do.
Johnny, Johnny, all you gotta do is say the word.
I'll do anything for you.
Johnny, Johnny, Johnny wants me
You always wear my tail, so I do. talk of a stranger, but yeah, that's also me that way.
Oh, the dress that he chose, night in Maddie's apartment. Everybody's tongues in my mouth, hanging right above the couch. Where's posters of teenage girls? Oh, I don't need a huge mistake. Johnny, Johnny, I just wanna be your girl.
I do.
I do. Johnny, Johnny, all you gotta do is say the word. I'll do anything for you. Johnny, Johnny, Johnny says to be my life farewell. So I do. 'Cause no one else but Johnny sees me like I see myself. It's you.
Опаньки, блядь! Опаньки опять! Опаньки, блядь! Вечеринка движи, я пьяный стою без крыши.
Papa Scott, keep it easy. Rhythm is dizzy.
Рыжий бесстыжий, папа скотом moving ближе.
Rhythm is dizzy. Rhythm is dizzy. Rhythm is dizzy.
Рыжий бесстыжий. Рыжий бесстыжий.
Ding dong, shakayum, boyakayum.
Бинг-бонг, шокоем, шоко-ноко-мокоем. Бинг-бонг, шоко-бум, шоко-ном, шокоем. Бинг-бонг, шокоем, шоко-ноко-мокоем. Вылетел на базе, надо звонить Стасе. Перецел на кассе, ебашит он харбасе. Вылетел на базе, надо звонить Стасе. Перецел на кассе, ебашит он харбасе. И это мы опять пришли харбас поебать. И это мы опять.
Papa Scott, keep it easy. Rhythm is dizzy. Rhythm is dizzy. Rhythm is dizzy.
А чё делать на районе, а? Вплюнул в кружку, встретил дружку, выпил двушку, блядь, твою мать. Пошёл-ка ты нахуй, блядь. Опа, нихуя, не ебашь до утра. Опа, нихуя, телефончик до утра. Опа, нихуя, не ебашь до утра. Опа, нихуя, телефончик дай сюда. Жорик, пьяный крапиве, киоск открыли. Все пропили. Жорик, походу пьяный, пиво сибаны, лицо обезьяны. Жорик, походу пьяный, походу пьяный, походу пьяный. Жорик, походу пьяный, походу пьяный, походу пьяный. Походу пьяный. Это просто какой-то международный пиздец, блядь. Приехали в киоск, а тут просто объебос. Ну как так можно наебать народ, а? Я просто полный ахуе. Полный ахуй. Поставь громче этот хардбас, блядь. Опа, нихуя.
traders just like the Grim Reaper. Lyrics suck you up so much you need a Saliwa. Don't know who I am, or you should go ask Lightkeeper. Selling all electricals, extremely top tier. Military technicals, nobody is cheaper. When you need computer parts, you come to see me. Teaching all your money, now the wife is getting near. Stepping into Tarkov is the MC Lightkeeper. Shouting, hold your fire just like the John Deere. Checking me at Lighthouse, I'm the #1 dealer. Insurance too expensive, now you got the gear fear. Living on a lighthouse in an island on the sea. Sell my secret life straight, gonna get a harmony. If you're not a scout, then you are PMC. Big up all of them team in the BSG. Stepping into Tarkov is the MC Lightkeeper. Complain about inertia, then you must be live streamer. Scaring off the traders and deactivate the fleet. Big up all the scout crew, check my
Prykä. Kommenen jo ja. Gonna get an idea. Get a fever. Let's go.
I just called to say hello.
Freaking out, dude.
Это ты? Ну да, кто же еще? Прошел все испытания? Я смотритель. Думаю, ты слышал обо мне. Вести дела со мной хочет каждый, но не каждому дано.
Korea.
Кто я в данный момент совсем не важно. Важно, кто ты и зачем ты здесь. Я смотритель. Смотрю за всем и за всеми, и все видят мой свет. В наше неспокойное время самое главное – обладать нужной информацией. Информация порождает связи. Связи дают возможности. Да, возможности менять окружение и, как следствие, реальность. В среде подобного рода базовая потребность человека – это выживание. Я не хочу просто выживать. Я хочу контролировать выживание. Для выживающего – да. Для того, кто обеспечивает выживаемость, все иначе. Мы встретились неспроста. Во всех событиях есть смысл. Случайностей не бывает. Ты сам искал встречи со мной. Ты задавал вопрос себе «зачем»? Приближенность к тому, для кого коллапс есть начало нового. Ты хочешь не просто выжить, ты хочешь контролировать ситуацию. Тарков и есть ты. Ты не можешь сбежать от себя самого, как не смог сбежать от себя самого я. Этому миру конец. Все эти жалкие попытки удержаться на тающей льдине в центре бушующего океана. Все эти локальные стычки, лицемерие торговцев, подстрекательство, насилие, помноженное на насилие. Все это ведет к очень конкретному результату. Заката не будет. Будет перерождение. Ты не сможешь сбежать из Таркова. Ты ничего не понял. Это нормально. Я тоже сначала ничего не понял, когда они связались со мной. Нам пока больше не о чем говорить. Ты сам все поймешь со временем, распутывая этот клубок. Есть. Только не трать мое время зря. Отлично. Не сейчас. Всему свое время. Будет время, заходи.
Come on.
traders just like the Grim Reaper. Lyrics cut you up so much you need a saliva. Don't know who I am, well you should go ask Nikita. Selling all electricals, extremely top tier. Military technicals, nobody is cheaper. When you need computer parts, you come to see me. Teething all your money, now the wife is getting near. Stepping into Tarkov is the MC Lightkeeper. Shouting hold your fire just like the John Deere. Checking me at Lighthouse, I'm the #1 dealer. Insurance too expensive, now you got to give here. Living on a lighthouse in an island on the sea. Sell my secret life straight, gonna get a harmonia. If you're not a scout, then you are PMC. Big up all of the team in the BSG. Tarkov is the MC Lightkeeper. Complain about inertia, then you must be live streamer. Scaring off the traders and deactivate the fleet. Big up all the scap who shut my rig and pick a break. MC Lightkeeper lyrics coming in your ear. Running out of fuel, you better get an idea. Lighthouse looking hot, you're gonna get your on a fever. Reading all the patch notes is my favorite time of year. Hold tight the Tarkov bus here. Salute. Moving up the Tarkov muscle inside the place. Yes, yes. Absolutely wicked, 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 wicked.
Patch 12.12 activated.
Welcome to the Lighthouse Electro Party. Lots of good loot here for everybody. Big flashing light keeps you out of danger. Lighthouse Tarkov Electro Raver. Having lots of fun, gonna bring my sniper. For Lighthouse bosses, gonna make a desert fire. Right in the bushes.
Okay. Oh, I didn't.
Are you ready?
Do you have my 30 rounder I gave you?
Yeah, but you want it?
Yeah. That should be empty.
I'm gonna keep my pass it up.
Hello everyone, it's Gigabeef here, and today we're checking out the ultimate in optical technology in Tarkov, which is all of the thermals, including the 2 new ones from this patch that I haven't covered before. Starting with the ones with the shortest range, we first have 2 cheap thermal sights, being the Torrey Pines Logic T12W and the MP155 Ultima camera, that have very specific use cases. The T12W is a small, low-resolution thermal camera that attaches to various weapons like a holographic would, meaning that it can be your primary sight if you want it to be. I personally would suggest against this idea though, as with its narrow view and 10Hz screen, which is the lowest across all of the thermals, even targets at relatively close distances can be extremely hard to see, and to understand what it's actually trying to show you and then shoot accurately can be nigh on impossible at times. On this basis, it's better off being used as an early warning system for players who are difficult to see on your screen directly, either because they are hiding in a bush or against some terrain that they blend very well into. It also comes in very handy for finding downed players in areas with heavy foliage, such as on woods. What makes this interesting is that the T12W continues to work even when it's on a canted mount or on the regular top rail without aiming down sights, so you can use a second sight to actually do the shooting while keeping the thermal detection ability active, however basic that may be. To me, this works best with the thermal on top and the red dot on the canted mount, although with something like the delta point you can actually see through the mount and into the thermal camera anyway if you do it the other way around, so it's really up to you which way you prefer. A larger scope like the Voodoo still blocks the thermal, so this only works as a passive scanner on the canted with certain close range sights. The 155 Ultima camera is similar to the T12W, but as the name implies, it is only usable on the 155 shotgun, and given this limitation, it's not too surprising that you can pick them up for about 30,000 rubles on the fleet, which is pretty cheap. However, as a thermal, it is actually quite a bit better. It's set to black equals hot mode, and it doesn't pick up quite as strongly due to only a black and white screen, but you can make out much more of the surrounding area with it due to an increased resolution, and it has a faster refresh time of 15Hz too. You can see this camera at the back of the weapon, so both the thermal and a regular sight are usable at the same time, but do beware of the height of the sight that you're using on top because of where the camera itself is placed at the front of the gun. Even those that sit quite high, like the EOTech holographic, still have the lower portion of their frame obscured by the top of the camera, and low ones at the delta point are severely disrupted. But overall, the 155 Ultima modded version is pretty cheap, and the thermal camera can be a nice upgrade on some more wooded maps to give you that little bit of extra information where bushes and trees might have gotten in the way otherwise. The final 1 times that we have to check out is the new SIG Echo 1, which is a pretty big step up in price. At 513k from Jaeger 4, it certainly isn't cheap, but you do get quite a lot more for your money. The Echo has 2 modes and 2 zooms, allowing you to switch between 1 times and 2 times, as well as having the regular red hot mode and a fusion mode as well. Although the red hot mode is at 21Hz, which is okay for a thermal, unfortunately the fusion mode isn't particularly good, having a lower refresh rate of 10Hz and being less clear with the blue terrain background. However, you have to click through all of these to get back to the original 1 times if you went to the 2 times scope on the red hot mode initially. The regular 1 and 2 times modes are good though, and suit much of Tarkov's general arsenal of assault rifles and DMRs at the classic engagement range that we find ourselves in most of the time, i.e. quite close. And it's an easy install too, just directly attaching onto any regular top Picatinny like a normal sight. One little thing to point out is that the sensitivity does feel to be a little bit too high to me, so just be careful when swinging it about as it might move a bit more than you expect. Next up is the Trijicon Reap IR that has been in the game for a while and is probably considered the best thermal overall. With a 2.5 times fixed zoom, this is enough to get a bit of extra range, but not so much that it limits the scanning potential of the thermal itself. The Reap is extremely clear and has 2 modes, black hot and white hot, but is usually the most expensive out of all of the thermals in Tarkov with a choice of 2 barters. After the completion of Gunsmith 22, it can be bartered with Mechanic 4 for approximately 650,000 rubles, or alternatively with Skier 4 at an eye-watering 900k, which you can probably imagine is why you don't see that many out in the wild. There is technically a craft too, but it's locked behind a bunch of Lightkeeper tasks and uses found in raid only items like the microcontroller board, so is generally not worth doing. With a refresh rate of 35Hz, the Reap IR has the most stable sight picture by far and is the easiest to shoot with, as all of the other thermals in general are typically quite hit and miss in Tarkov, easy to scan and acquire targets, but hitting through the screens can be tricky. It also comes with an optional scope eye-cup, which alleviates the negative ergo associated with it somewhat at +6, but it is typically not used. The 4 good thermals range between -10 for the Echo to -18 for the Zeus, which we'll look at in a moment, with the Reap coming in at a middling -13 ergo, but the way that the eye-cup blocks the whole screen in a weird way on the right-hand side means that it just isn't worth adding. It's also worth bearing in mind that the Reap IR sits on its own special mount, and they are usually fairly expensive on the flea. Instead, do the barter for 4D batteries and get it from Jaeger that way instead. Moving up to the next level of zoom, we have yet another new thermal, the Armorsight Zeus Pro 640, with a 2x and an 8x mode. This is similar in function to the Echo 1 in that it features a white-hot mode first and a fusion mode second. However, the 2x fusion in this case is the most clear of the 4. Also, interestingly, there is a rail on the side of the thermal for a laser flashlight if you wanted to put one up there for some reason, and it also has an eye-cup compatible with it too, which is in fact even worse than the Reap IR version. Hard to believe that is possible, but there you go. Given the Zeus is -18 ergo, you might even be tempted to get 5 back with it, but I personally think that is unwise. Like the Reap, the Zeus mounts onto a dedicated base first, the Armorsight Zeus Universal Base, which can just be bought from Jaeger 4 directly. To buy this one, you have to complete Jaeger's quest Huntsman Path Big Game, which is the quest to kill Kabam. Once done, 2 barters unlock, first for a Ledex and the second for 10 cult knives. These cult knives typically go for about 40 to 50k on the flea, so generally later on in the wipe a better value than the Ledex, which is currently sitting at about 650 to 700k, but neither are particularly cheap. I personally don't mind the Zeus. It's clearly one of the better ones for long-range combat with the high zoom level possible, but the clarity of the fusion 2x along with the size of the screen makes it quite usable in my opinion. The thermal with the largest zoom is the Flare, the staple of Tarkov with a plethora of access points. Jaeger sells it directly for 677k at Jaeger 4, and there are barters at both Mechanic 4, which is cheap so it goes out of stock fast, and Jaeger 3, which is okay if you use the items down to 1 point before handing them in. There are 2 sneaky barters, one at Jaeger 3 for the meme Saiga, but it comes with a flare so you can sell the rest of the gun back, or alternatively keep things like the canted RK1, which costs 50k even from the trader, and another after completing Psycho Sniper with Mechanic 3 for an AK-104, which also comes equipped with a flare. This is nearly as good as the Mechanic 4 barter, but Psycho Sniper is extremely hard to do, and only a small fraction of the player base will likely complete it. At 21Hz, the flare has the same refresh rate as the Zeus and the Echo on Red Hot mode, giving the user both a 2.25x and 9x zooms to play with, which are pretty decent on the DMR style weapons. One thing going for it over the Zeus, other than cost, is the weight. At just under half a kilogram, the Zeus is double that at 0.9 kilos, which does start to make a difference when you want to use these devices for scanning the horizon. Arm stamina is affected a little bit by ergonomics, but mostly by weapon weight, so the way to make the most of thermals is to use light guns, so that you can constantly be scanning around and not run out of stamina. Between the Zeus and the Flare, it is a pretty close call, but I think on balance I prefer the Zeus's 2x fusion mode and the reticle that comes with it over the Flare, as the Flare's crosshair is actually pretty nasty for hitting targets. Whether it's worth
Hello?
rubles though is up to you.
Whoa.
What up, G?
Are aware of this, but the 250
Uh,
is still in the
Dog,
game.
you see what
After
that
this
motherfucker
distance,
said to me?
nothing renders at all, so beware with the Flare and the Zeus especially that you
Bruh.
don't end up
He
in a
said,
scrapping match with a player
you're
who
not
sees
leaving
you but can't
Tarkov.
see
You're
you.
not
Also, as a
escaping
reminder,
Tarkov.
none of the
Tarkov
thermals
is who
go
you
through
are.
glass, so you have to take the glass out before you can look out through windows or buses or anything
That's
like
all
that.
Lightkeeper
Final
today.
piece of
Finally
advice
made
is
it
smoke
across
grenades.
that
You
bridge,
definitely
homie.
can't see through Crapple's basic black-grey smoke in
Show,
Tarkov
I
at the
got
moment,
so
but
rich
any
just
of the
from
thermals,
walking
and
across
most of
that
them
bitch. I found a
typically
black
don't
key
either, but
card
this
and
one is a little
everything.
bit
It was
more
wild.
complicated. Depending on exactly where you're
Yeah.
standing relative to the smoke effect, it can be possible to pick
Yeah,
out
man, I'm down to
targets at
play
the edges that you
arenas
wouldn't
if
be
you
able to
are.
see otherwise, but it's a bit fiddly and not very practical, so I just assume that you can't use them together and leave it at that.
Otherwise, I'm
Finally, we're
going
going
into
to check out some
PvP or
gameplay with the
PvE.
Echo 1, because I like
You
the
going
idea of having a
PvP?
slightly
No, I'm
closer
doing
range
PvE.
thermal for woods
I
custom to
gotta
outside of
take
shoreline,
all
which
the
I
car
fancy, so let's
extractions
start
basically
with
for
Optimal
Lightkeeper
Sniper.
now.
We're
I'm
about
doing
to go
Lightkeeper
in.
quests.
Why don't you just do Lightkeeper and knock him out?
I'm just
Maybe we'll
taking
stay
a
high.
moment. Alright, so I had to do a whole bunch of crazy shit to get across
Yeah,
that
so that was
bridge,
gonna
and
be
they
something
had
there.
me doing
Told you
like
about sensitivity.
time
Yeah, it'll be
gates
fine.
and stuff like that. So
I'm
I
not,
was just
I'm not
taking a little
shooty
breather.
enough to have
I
like
did a
really
lot of
bad
hard
good
things,
muscle memory,
so
so
I'm watching a video by Gigabeef right now where he explains all the
you gotta
different
worry about
thermals
like
in the
these
game.
bits.
And I don't know.
And the temptation
Fooling.
to rely on the
He didn't talk about the T7 actually. That's what I actually came for. I spent the 17 million on the most expensive thermal in the game.
Crazy, man.
I don't really think it's worth it, in my opinion. What you doing, playing Diablos?
Yes, sir.
That's some desync as well. Damn! Hell yeah, I used a big word like hypergolic, you know me?
P7.
Did I kill him? I think I shot.
Why does Landmark sound like a midget? He's like, I got him! Hold on. You need to tell me I can bring a big gun? But I'm gonna bring the juice cannon. I just used the new gun. Spear. It's like really hot where I'm at, so the power kept going out. That's a new one for me. An M12 hand linker. Do you know what an M12 is? It's like an anti-artillery gun. The shells are as big as like little Red Bull cans, basically. They have like these specialized pliers that they use that you like squeeze and you put them in that chain link, basically. I never seen how they actually get them in there. I figured they just slide right in, but they got a specialized tool for it. It's pretty cool, pretty cool. I figured a machine did it, or they slid right in. I hope I insured this fucking $17 million thermal. Fake. Fake. Get it off my shit. Alright, where am I? Oh, I'm gonna die is where I'm at. These T7s are hard to use, dog.
Oh.
T7s are hard to use. Especially indoors, dog. They look really cool, though.
Стрёмное местечко.
Heard him, I know I fucking heard him out there. He said, Привет. Whoops. Hee like a predator. Meow. Labs Carterino. Look at one. Where they at? Where they at though? You know nothing. Today will jot down as the saddest day in Markroom's history. Gotta vote it. $20 million key, dog, and all it yields is meh, couple guns. Guess I'm not hating. I'll play the game. I'll flip them. Got cars out there. cool on thermal.
Так, пора сваливать.
Так, about to swallow it.